So now I want to give you 5 comments about crisis. I want us to see crisis in the right perspective. And in the end, I want us to see crisis through the eyes of a leader. But let me just give you 5 comments on crisis. Number 1 is a crisis is quite common. This is not the first crisis on earth. There's a tendency to think that it's never been this bad before. We're the only ones that have ever experienced this. And it's very possible for us to kind of over-exaggerate our place in history and the crisis that we're within in its place in history also. The second comment on crisis is that a crisis is distracting. So when a crisis comes, it begins to pull us away. It begins to distract us. It begins to take us off course. It begins to confuse our priorities. It keeps us from making progress. And fear is spreading faster than the virus. Nothing will cause you more anxiety than trying to control something you can't control. So what do leaders do? Don't miss this point. Leaders help people get traction during distraction. And the first step of getting traction is getting rid of negative emotions. The third comment on crisis. A crisis reveals what is inside of us. You see, sometimes I hear people say, well, they were made in a crisis. Crises don't make us. Crises reveal us. When a crisis comes, whatever is on the inside is what will come out. You see, choices make us, crises reveal us. And I want us to really understand this because we have control over our choices. We don't have control over our conditions. And if you're in a leadership role, I just want you to know you can't moan and lead at the same time. So figure it out. If you're going to lead, you and I have to be able to give people hope, and moaning doesn't give people hope. Through crisis, through difficulty, we're striving to become bigger on the inside than we are on the outside. And number 4, a crisis requires adaptability. You see, a crisis usually is a case study in uncertainty. That's true of the coronavirus. Nobody knows how long the outbreak is going to last, how bad it's going to be. But here's where leadership comes in. Most successful leaders have a plan B. And during a crisis, maybe even a plan C. Adaptability is a positive quality, and it's adjusting not out of weakness, but out of strength. It's adjusting to succeed. It's adjusting to give you the ability to make the changes that will make you better. And in a crisis, that's what we do. As leaders, we help our people adjust their way to victory. Point number 5. I'm giving you comments on crisis. And the 5th point is that a crisis is the time when real leaders show up. It's in a crisis that the real leaders become visible. Leadership is a visible presence. There is something that gives great security about people when they see their leader and the confidence, the calmness, the assuredness, the hope that leader has. In war, the soldiers should always see the officer's back. In other words, there's something wrong if they're looking toward enemy territory and they don't see the back of the officer. That officer needs to be leading the way. In a crisis, that's what leaders show up during the crisis. Now, you see, there are time-tested principles of a leader in a crisis, and the fact that they're open, they're honest, they're clear, and they're the first ones to stand up and to stand out. That's what leaders do during a crisis. Now, uncertainty in a crisis is a fact of life. And uncertainty, as my friend Andy Stanley would tell you, is not an indication of poor leadership. It's just an indication that there's a need for leadership.